Hello, oh, how are you? I keep kicking the light with my foot because I have to fidget. How are you doing? I hope everything's going well and that you're having a wonderful time with your artwork and you're creating and things are going great. I have been wanting to do some plein air painting, and so I've done some this year. So I have been gathering things that I need, so I have them on hand and ready to go. I wanted to cover a few thoughts that I had about plein air if you're new to it, because these are things that I have had on my mind since I've started doing plein air, and I thought it might help you. So, or if you have insight into something that you would like to suggest for me, by all means, I would love some info. I do have notes here because, well, I'm me. These are things just to keep in mind, some tips, some suggestions, and I'll probably throw in some images of things that I'm talking about. Before you go out, before you even, before you leave, preferably like the day before or night before, you're going to be thinking about what is your goal, where are you going, what materials you're going to take, what you want to achieve that with this work. And if this is a new place, is this someplace that you can go and just kind of check out and look and see, and not go expecting to create a huge masterpiece the first day, but just go and kind of check it out. Maybe take a sketchbook and a pencil, or even just your phone, and take some reference photos and look around and see what your options are. Is there a place you could sit? Is there a place you could put your easel and not have it in the way of other people? Maybe because maybe there's trails, that sort of thing. Just to think ahead. Maybe you need to do studies of parts of the rocks or parts of the setting ahead of time, if possible. I know that's not always ideal. Some of us just, we have our stuff and this is what we're going to use, and this is where we're going. I'm talking about an ideal thing. If there's some place that's close to your home and it's someplace you can go to again and again easily, and if you are going to go back to this place over and over again to work on a larger piece or something that needs more time, how is the weather going to impact that? Like the lighting, the season, that type of thing. I guess that would be a given. Yeah. And then your materials. What materials are you going to take? Again, I do recommend that you pack things the night before, day before, whatever. We can have an idea of what the weather's going to be like within reason. I have an event this Saturday, and I'm supposed to be doing a plein air demo, and they're calling for 60% chance of rain right now. So we'll see. So I need to be thinking ahead of time of what can I bring that would work well in that weather if I had protection from the elements. If you are using color, I would suggest that and you're just starting, I would take a limited palette, say red, yellow, blue, and a tube of white, or if you have a preferred palette that you like to use that's limited. If you know you're going to be doing brick building, do you have a reddish brown or grayish brown that's going to make you happy when you're working with it? Be thinking about that sort of thing. Another issue with the painting mediums, if you're doing an oil painting, how are you going to carry it back to your vehicle or your car? How are you going to carry it back safely so it doesn't get damaged? Do you need to get a paint carrier of some sort, or do you need to rig something up so you can carry it? If you're taking pastels, even though they're a dry medium, do have their issues or their challenges with using it in plein air. And I'm talking about dry, soft pastels. Um, Again, do you have a way to carry the work back? Do you need to take your pochade box, or do you need to, do you need to take some wax paper or something to put over the piece, a clipboard? You know what I'm saying. How are you going to carry it back to your car safely? And also, if you're using oil pastels instead of soft pastels, the temperature. Um, this event that I mentioned that I may be doing Saturday, they're saying it's going to be 103 today. So oil pastels get very soft when they get warmer, which you probably know if you've dealt with them at all. But I have heard of people leaving them like in their car, and they come back to like a puddle. Ideally, I would be taking oil pastels on Saturday if the temperature was about 20, 30 degrees lower. And watercolors, if you're using watercolors, some people take more than one watercolor um, sketchbook or paper at a time, so that you can rotate your work, so that you're not so that if you don't want to just sit there and wait for this paint to dry till you can do the next, you can rotate through them. Say like you're doing and and it, doing a landscape that's this direction, or and the other one's this direction, or you know what I mean. So you can rotate through them. Easels. If you want to work on an easel, it's going to depend, of course, upon what your medium is that you're using. And you need to think about the distance that you'll have to carry these things. Is it going to be, would it be easier just to take a backpack and maybe a really light easel? And what about sitting? Are you going to be okay standing at this particular easel for, 2 hours or however long you're going to work? If you take a shade box and you can sit somewhere, a lot of times you can just put the box on your lap and be able to work that way. If you're fortunate enough that there's like a picnic table or a large rock to sit on, this is one of those things of like, it's good to scope it out ahead of time if you can. If you do need to sit, do you need to take a foldable chair, a camping stool? I have a mat that folds up that I can take with me in case I need to sit on anything that might be damp or just needs a little extra padding, and it's waterproof. Some other things to consider for personal choices: sunscreen. Do you need a sunscreen for your face that's not going to break you out? Do you prefer a spray sunscreen, bug spray, those type of things that you might need? What about a hat for protection? Do you have something? And if you wear a hat, if you're wearing like a ball cap and a t-shirt, what about your neck? Is your neck going to get fried in the process? Hopefully you've got sunscreen on and that won't be an issue. I am so pale, I am almost transparent. So I am acutely aware of what I need to do when I'm out doing this type thing. And one thing I've gotten is just the bandana. You can tie it around your neck and protect the back of your neck if you need to, or tie it around your hat and keep it there, and that way it's just available. Or if you just need something to wipe your face off because it's really hot, they're good to have. Wet wipes are another good thing to have. You may be wearing gloves for your hands for protection, but there's just instances that come up that you might need a wet wipe, and you can just slip some into like a Ziploc bag, or you don't necessarily have to take the whole bag, or the whole container. If you're taking brushes and pencils, do you need to take a carrier? Do you have something that will keep the tops of the brushes from getting bent or damaged, possibly, because you can't just throw them into like a backpack and go, because the bristles will. Don't forget that you need to stay hydrated if you're taking something to drink. Do you have an easy way to carry it? Is it going to just slip into the side of your backpack? Which also brings us to, is there a bathroom nearby? And what if there's not? What if you need to take care of business and there's no restroom nearby? Is it an area where you feel safe just going off into the bushes? And then that's another reason to have some wet wipes. Also, do you need an umbrella for shade? I have a little umbrella that clips onto my chair that will protect me from the sun, or I don't like my work to be in the sun. It helps me get the colors better, I think. I got an umbrella for doing this, and I haven't tried it yet out in the field, so we'll see. I'm hoping that it'll make it nicer to mix the colors, like in the shade of the umbrella. I noticed the inside of the umbrella is silver, and I assume that's to shield out heat, but I'm curious about the reflection on my surface, so we'll see. I would recommend taking a trash bag or even a repurposed shopping bag. I like to use the Walmart shopping bags, but if you take a couple of those too, you can use them as not only for trash when you're out and about, like the wet wipes if you have to use those, but they also can offer a bit of protection from rain on you or your work. Paper towels. Paper towels, I like to fold them. I don't want to take this tube. I like to take them and fold them up, and whoops, I just dropped something. I like to take them and fold them up, and then I can just slip them into whatever bag I'm taking. And just a note, I prefer these shop towels. I don't know if you can see, it's a blue. These are a lot thicker, and I find I use a lot fewer of these than I would if I used like traditional paper towels, the white ones, even some of the thicker ones that you can purchase, and these are less expensive. Do you need to take a rag, a physical rag? If you've got paper towels and you've got your bandana or whatnot, you may not need it, but if whatever your process is, do you need to take some rags? A multifunctional tool is great, like a Leatherman tool. Sometimes if you're using a pochade box, you might have to tighten something up, and the Leatherman tool can help with that. Also, you'll have the knife on it if that's necessary, even if you're in a pinch, to maybe help sharpen your pencils. As a scraping tool if you're doing oil pastels or whatnot onto your surface, or if you're an oil painter and some of the tubes the lids may have issues coming off, the Leatherman tool will take care of that. Do you need to take bungee cords or clips to secure items, or in case it's windy, or just carrying things there in the process of your work? Do you need to take extra pencil, pen, paper if you need to take notes of things? And I realize this is covering a lot of stuff. These are all things that you have to consider if you're doing plein air, especially if you're a mixed media artist, because you're not taking just one medium. You don't know what mediums you're going to take for sure until you sit down and start packing things, or gathering your materials, and you have to stop and think, do I have everything I need to do what I want? A smartphone. Hopefully you have cell reception, especially if you're not in a public area, because of just because of personal safety, or the camera on your phone can be used to take reference photos that you can take back to your studio. If you take a smartphone, do you have someplace safe to store it if it starts to rain or if there's a chance of rain? Like, do you have a Ziploc you can pop it into real quick? Or is it going to be safe in your pocket? That type of thing. If you are going to a remote area, have you told somebody where you're going? Or like the gist of where you're going? So this covers a lot, probably more than you think is necessary. But when you start loading up your materials, it's good to stop and think about this. And as someone who's relatively new to plein air painting, these are all things that I've had to stop and think about before I went out and did things. So I'm just hoping I can save you some time and effort and hopefully an issue when you're out there. So I'm sure I'm going to think of 20 other things once I go to edit this video. But an apron. Do you need to take an apron? Or do you have clothing on that is ready to get dirty? Or do you just feel more comfortable painting in an apron? So thank you for listening to me gab for the last however many minutes. And I hope this helps in some way. I'll see you next time, and be safe, have fun, and get out there and be creative. Bye all.